Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Kelly, you and I are like sweatered up today. It's been so chilly
I
up. Like,
know, it feels like winter time.
I feel like, yeah, well, it is. I feel like it is. It's still fall, but I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. If you guys are just joining us, we're doing like back-to-back shows like last week, this week. I think you maybe even next week. So you guys didn't see us for a whole summer and you're going to get tired of seeing us the whole week. We've got like 2 shows. We're constantly posting videos and content. So hopefully you guys aren't getting too tired of us and you're, catching up with us. So if you're on live with us, say hi. Let us know where you're watching us from. We have another episode today with one of the directors for Maiyya's music video for her new album launching on Saturday or Thanksgiving Day that weekend. So if you are interested to know more about this director, we encourage you to stay tuned, ask questions, stay engaged with us. Our guest today is like super talented. So if you've got questions for him, just make sure that you put that in the comments so Callie and I can pull and ask him. But we'll get started in a little bit here. Please help us share. Again, it's free. That supports us a lot. So help us like and share this particular live. And again, if you're live with us, let us know where you're watching us from. We love to do shout outs at the beginning. And we'd love to know who's watching us and say hi. But we'll get started in a couple seconds here. Callie's sharing, and I'm going to start sharing it onto mine as well. And if you are just hopping on, please help us share. Okay. So I'm like, my phone is dying. My laptop died. So it's currently charging right now. All right, let's do this. Kelly, you are fast.
Well, today's on like a kind of a weird screen that I just like share, It's kind of nice.
Even with like the
know.
same comments and stuff?
Huh?
Even with the same comment, really?
Yeah, I just put the comment and then it has all the groups I'm in. So I'm just going like scrolling down and just sharing. So it's really
Must
nice.
be like a new feature. I remember po thầu EA là thứ one the but it
Yeah,
went away.
yeah.
Yeah. Hello. Is it Jiong Sei from California? Hopefully I'm not butchering your name too bad. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching.
Oh, you know what? I think I saw that Dan was a realtor too. I wonder if I can share this into Hmong real estate investors, huh?
Is he?
I don't know if that was a troll post I did about him being a realtor. I guess we'll have to ask him.
Yes, Dan, we will ask you that question when you come on.
Hi, Mongoose.
Hello.
I was trying to watch your episode, Mongoose, with New the other night, and I don't know, something weird happened. So I wasn't able to, but
can always go back and rewatch.
Yeah.
That's one of the cool things about streaming onto social media platforms is that you can always go back and rewatch the episodes and skip through. And if there's no ads, skip through to where you want to go. If there are ads, watch the ads because they do help.
Yes, they sure do. If you are on, please help us share. Again, it is completely free to share.
Yes. So we are doing a giveaway. Yesterday we had talked about us getting to 16,000 followers. And so we want to celebrate by doing a giveaway. So if you missed out on the post, no worries. It's just the one right below this one on our page because so it's the price is $100. Anybody in the world can enter into this giveaway. We're not limiting it to just the people in the United States. And so, again, it's you can go into the post and click on the requirements and stuff, but that's just kind of high level, what we're doing. So again, missed it. It's the post right below this one.
We can definitely Western Union the fund.
Yes. Yes.
So this is international.
Yes, international. It's the Western Union. Usually, but we will.
I have
do it.
actually.
Have you? See, so I haven't. Come on.
I have I also have a mall so I guess I guess.
You're ridiculous.
Hey, the borders are opening. Okay, I gotta shoot my shot if I want to get.
Oh my goodness, you have a Seymour owl.
I sure do. You better be ready when I come.
That's so funny. All right. So if you are just joining us, we have a awesome show. I've been so looking forward to talking to Dan. I follow him on social media, and so I see all his little funny skits and things that he does. And he's just so talented in so many different ways. And so I'm excited for tonight's conversation. But if you're just joining us, we are going to do a show with Dan. He is one of the directors for Maiyia Vwj's music video for some of her songs and her new album. And so we're excited to have him on. I always forget this, Callie, and please forgive me. I always forget to introduce ourselves.
I know. I was going to let you finish, and then I was like, okay, let's introduce yourself.
I'm so bad at that. But if you are joining in new to our page, hi, I'm Olivia. I'm one of the co-hosts.
I'm Callie.
We've been doing this for a little bit, so I feel like we've not done a really good job of introducing ourselves since we started, or I have at least. Callie's, she's there and she usually goes after me when I say my name, so she's waiting for me to do it, and if I miss it, she lets me know. So yes, we have a great show for you guys tonight. I'll pass it over to Callie. I don't think there's any other updates from us. So
nope. So tonight we have with us Dan Yang, and so he is the fourth director, since we have one that's a duo, but Dan is from the Midwest, as all the other directors are as well, and so he's an alumni of Columbia College in Chicago, and he graduated with cinema science, and he's been on the committee board of the what is that? You're muted. Help. I gotta phone a friend, okay?
It's Pia Dunning.
Oh, Pia Dunning Film Festival. That makes total sense. All right. So thanks, Olivia.
You're welcome. Keep an eye out for a video on us learning Hmong.
I know. I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad you could read that. For the better part of 6 years, he has helped teach young students the basics of filmmaking and aiding the advancement of Hmong films. Dan is also one of the producers, directors of the first Hmong anthology film, Spirits Dawn, where he launched a successful Kickstarter campaign and toured the film to 5 different states, as well as raising over $1,000 for multiple educational programs. Dan is a proud recipient of the Cultural Stars Grant Program, where he produced a film called Rice Tree in 2020. Rice Tree was accepted into the Minneapolis International Film Festival, as well as the Oregon Asian American Film Festival. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Following that, in 2021-2022, Dan received the Jerome Foundation's Artist Development Grant, as well as the Minnesota State Arts Board grant to aid in the development and production of Bird's Nest, a film based on the shooting of Fong Li in 2006. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Oh wow, that's gonna be really interesting to talk about. But anyways, before I trip up more on my words, I'm just gonna bring Dan on.
Hey Dan.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, you just have so much amazing things. I was just sharing with our viewers that I follow you, and I feel like you just accomplished so much. And Callie was just tripping up on words on your bio there, just all of your accomplishments. So first and foremost, congratulations on all of that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. So let's just dive right in then, right? Like, I feel like Callie did a really good job summarizing like just all of the things that you've done and the awards that you've won. But could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. So as you guys mentioned, I am located in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a coincidence that we're all in Midwest. I don't think it was planned. I think it was a coincidence. But born and raised in Minnesota. Been making films for about 10 years now. And it's been a really long process. I think it's been a really experimental process. I think did a lot of like growing up, and I also did a lot of self-discovery, and it was a journey. So I'm happy that I'm on this project and making these 2 music videos for Maiyia. It wouldn't have been possible without Sang, our executive producer. I think he's the man behind the scenes. He's pulling all the strings and doing all the hard work. So thank you, Sang. Unfortunately, he's not able to join us tonight, but without him, it wouldn't have been possible. And honestly, Maiya's been talking about retiring after this album, and I don't want her to retire because I've been listening to her music for a really long time. So she's an amazing artist. I'm really happy to be on here and making the music videos for her. So don't retire, Maiyia. Keep making music. And yeah, but next, I just want to say thank you to my producers, Kerr Vang and Julie Lore. Without them, my music videos wouldn't have been possible. They've the superstars behind the scenes. So if you guys are looking for a house and life insurance, hit those 2 ladies up.
So not only did they produce, but they also sell houses and life
Yes,
insurance.
shameless plug. They are the
Yes.
MVPs.
That's
Wait,
amazing.
is it Hai Shong? Did you say it was Hai?
It's
What was the name?
yeah, Kerr Vang and Julie Lore.
Oh,
Yep.
Curve.
Silly disregard.
You're not hearing. You can't
I'm
pronounce it.
not. Oh my
Maybe
God.
it's my mic.
No, I'm just
Not
a
you.
hot mess tonight. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Anyways, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I am so excited, and I think I mean Maiya's probably going to be super excited to be able to have like different directors doing all these music videos and short films. I think that that's going to be such a gift for just to kind of see how y'all have interpreted her music and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what she's doing is something different. When Sang approached me with the idea, I was really excited because this is the first time something like this is happening, and I think music. Yeah, I think artists baby their music, right? It's like their child. They probably love it. They for most of the artists that I've worked with, they want to have control of everything over the music. So it's hard to let people interpret your music. So Maiyia was gracious enough to let us interpret her music in our own artistic way. So I'm really excited for it.
All right. So before we get into talking about the work for Maiyia, let's talk about you a little bit. So, like Olivia said, we do both follow you, and you do a lot of just like funny skits and shorts, and they are hilarious. They are I think because it's so real, right? It's so like again, like when we were just talking earlier about the July 4th, the different types of girls at July 4th Freedom Festival. And it's just funny because they're so real. And so where do you get your inspiration for your videos?
Honestly, I think most of them are from like personal experiences. Like that, for example, like the guy one, like all the guys are gonna be at J4. I feel like I have been one of those guys every part of like because I'm almost like 30 years old now. So I feel like I've gone through stages where I've been like every single one of those guys, except the kid. I don't have a kid, so I don't I don't know what it feels like to be a dad. But being the guy from out of town, when you go to like Wisconsin or something like that, or so it's a little bit of personal experience. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, that's funny. I like your what his Pokemon Mon close clip was hilarious. Yes. Yes. That's funny. I know. I love your skits too because I think it's very relatable. I mean, I know you say it's from like your experience, but I think that's like because we all know it's true, right? Like
Yeah.
we all definitely see that and can relate to that. So that's
Yeah,
funny.
I think most of my experiences are like like Hmong American experiences, right? So like
Mhm.
I think a lot of people who watch it, if they're not like Hmong American, if they didn't grow up as a Hmong American, they probably won't understand it. But I also think that's what's really funny is like it's a story that we all can relate to. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what do you do in your 9 to 5?
so currently as a 9 to 5, I am a content creator for a company here in Minnesota. So I do video for them as well. So I make videos for this company. The videos actually range from a lot of different things. It's a fairly big industrial company, so that's what I do in my 9 to 5.
So, so it's kind of like it's something you're passionate about doing
Yeah.
with
Yep.
long
Yep.
filming and stuff.
Yep. I wake up and do
Um,
video, and I go to sleep and do video though. That's all I do.
uh, so I have a quick question before we jump into the music video stuff. You know, like I've seen you post things on about what's that page? The Across Mountains.
Hmm.
Are you the like admin of that page? Are you like one of the producers there? Because the two that I've watched that I've seen kind of circulating through social media, which documents Billy the shaman and kind of through his journey. And then the most recent one I looked at was the rising cost of Hmong funerals, which I thought was really well done.
Hmm.
Are you part of those projects?
Yeah. So I'm actually the only one working at Across the Mountains right now, and that actually started out kind of like as a passion project because I really wanted to tell stories that I believe are like really important, and
Mhm.
not enough people were talking about them. And
Yeah.
so I wouldn't call them news stories. I would call them like people focused stories where you're
Yeah.
telling stories of people, right? Their experiences and the issues, the joys, whatever it may be in the Hmong community. So I started Across the Mountains, and I actually have a couple more episodes working through the pipeline right now. And so
Cool.
that's been like a passion of mine. I've always wanted to do it, but I just never really had the motivation or the extra push that I needed. And
Mhm.
then after the pandemic, I thought about it and I was like, hey, there's so many interesting Hmong stories that like literally no one is talking about. And why
Yeah.
is that? And
Yeah.
who will do it? And I asked myself that question, like, well, if I don't do it, no one's gonna do it. So I decided to, even though I'm not making any money, I'm just doing this on the weekend. It's more like just a passion project, right? And so I started it, and it's been going really well. And
Yeah.
I have so many other stories that I want to tell that I think are really impactful.
Yeah, I love it. I really do think that the two that I saw circulating that I watched, they were really well done. And so when you shared it onto your page, I just wasn't sure if you were the one doing it or if someone else. And so for those of you at home watching, if you are not following Across the Mountains, I would highly encourage you to. Dan did a really good job with these two stories that is being told. And so again, I think just sharing any content from any content creator is really important and just kind of getting the word out. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, let's move on to Maiya's album. And so, what made you decide to work on the short film for her third album?
Yeah, so first I listened to her album and it was really good. So I automatically the first thing was before I've done a couple music videos in the past, and I think the first thing I do is listen to the music and do I actually like the music? So I
Mhm.
listened to it and I was immediately drawn to these two songs, and I really, really enjoyed them. I just thought that the possibilities were like endless. And so I immediately told saying I was like, hey, I'm on board. I would love to make these two music videos and just kind of take it in an artistic way. So that was the first reason. And the second one was I think this is something that has never been done by Hmong musicians. So I'm really intrigued to see where it goes. I
Mhm.
think this might be almost like a trailblazer in a way where people see this project and they're going to try to emulate it in a way. And I think that it could turn out to be something really, really successful. So I'm really interested to see where this project goes in general.
Yeah. So you talked about the two songs. Yesterday we had Madame Stace on, and she had talked about y'all fighting for the songs.
Yeah, yeah.
So did you have to fight for your two?
Yeah, well, Stace actually, me and Stace really liked this one song, and then we compromised because she was like, "Give me this song, and I'll let you have this song." So the song is Joya Ka. So my two songs are, the first one is Joya Ka, and the second one is Mong Te Tu. So the two songs, they're really, really different actually. And so I really wanted these two because I feel like they're on both sides of the spectrum. One is a really happy, loving song. It's like upbeat, fast pace, really it's about love, and it's about, meeting someone and falling in love. And then the other one is about meeting someone, but like you're losing yourself. You're kind of falling so deep in love that you start to lose a part of yourself. So it is about love, but it's on both sides of the spectrum. And so I really wanted to choose that because I just wanted to do two videos that were like completely different, and try to be this both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of it being really different, like what's your creative process like for both of the songs? Like
Yeah.
they are so
Yep.
different.
So immediately when I listened to the song, I called Maiyia and I told her my ideas. And I first thing I said to her was like, "Hey, my ideas are super crazy, and I don't want you to feel." And this is my first conversation with her too. So I was like, "My ideas are super crazy. I don't want you to think I'm weird or anything like that, but but these are my ideas." And so I just told her right out. I was like, "This is what I want to do," and she was like, "Huh. All right, well, these are really different, but I support you." And I was like, "Yes," so I got the green light. So it was weird because like I listened to them over and over, and then the ideas just started like building. And so my creative process is different for every project, but I think for these two, right when I listened to it, like ideas just started popping up right away. And her songs are so good that honestly it's like there's hundreds of thousands of possibilities you could go with.
Yeah.
How is it managing those very two different videos? And are both of them going to be short films and music video type of?
Yeah, so they're kind of so they're both completely different. The vibe is different for each one. And I actually really wanted to do that because I felt like I wanted to be more creative in different ways. So Joyaka is going to be more of like a narrative short film music video. It's gonna have more of a concrete story to it. And then Mongte Tu is a little bit more of like a traditional music video. It's more fast paced. It's a little bit shorter form, no dialogue and stuff like that. So they're two different projects, but I think it allows me to be really creative in different ways.
Gotcha. And so when you casted, did you have people in mind already, or did you like do a casting call? How did you go about that?
Yeah, I had people in mind already. I reached out to them immediately when after I finished like the script and stuff, and so I already had people in mind. I didn't do a wide casting call, um, especially because our timing was so quick. I blame Sang for that, but so I didn't have
Just
I
blame
didn't have
him
a
for
lot of I
everything.
didn't have a lot of time to do
Yeah.
a nationwide casting call saying, but it worked out really well. I think the people that I chose did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah. And then how is it interpreting someone else's song? And I think most of the directors have said, it's pretty open-ended, and it sounds like you've been able to kind of interpret it as you want to. But how is that interpreting someone else's song? Do you feel like there's an obligation for you to do something that you feel like she has in mind, or do you just say, this is how I'm hearing the song, and this is how I want to show her of, my vision too?
Mhm. Yeah, I think you do have an obligation to stay somewhat truthful within boundaries to what the artist wants. I told her my ideas, and although they're out of the box, the core meaning of it is still truthful to the song. And so I would say that when I talked to her about it, we had a engaging talk of like, how do you feel about this story, and is it still representative of your song? And if she would have said no, this is like completely different, it's not what I had envisioned at all, then I probably would have moved away from that. So um
Mhm.
and my is a really understanding artist. She gave me a very very long, very very big boundaries to work within. So you know props to her about that.
You're, like, making us, like, super excited because you keep saying out of the box, like,
Yeah.
big boundaries, so I'm really excited to
So
see it.
I think you released a teaser-ish.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
He sure did.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
it
It's
looks
different.
I think the quality of the video but they're wearing monk clothes too. And then you kind of cut it out. I don't know if it's a
Yeah.
person running or what's happening in the background, but it looks kind of creepy in a sense because
Oh.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
I wanted that one. We finished shooting about 2 weeks ago, so
Mhm.
we're not completely finished yet, but that one is interesting. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Me
Oh.
too. I'm excited. I hate when people do those little teasers because it just makes me want to like, what's happening here? What's
Hmm.
gonna happen? All right, so let's kind of switch gears a little bit to talk about like Hmong music and entertainment. So you obviously someone who does like skits in front of the camera and your editing skills, and then also being behind the camera, directing and stuff. Where do you see the Hmong entertainment industry going?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I think that's a question that I've had multiple discussions about that. As you read in my bio, I used to be part of the Kereneng Film Festival, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a film festival that went on for about 7 years here in Minnesota. We were actually the first um, Hmong film festival in the entire world that was created, and so um, it's a conversation that every year at the film festival we've had, and every year the answer seems to be changing. Um, it's always evolving, and I feel that if I were to compare the first film festival we did was probably in 2011, and
Mm-hmm.
so at the time cameras were really expensive. There YouTube had just started blowing up. Netflix was just starting, and so it wasn't where it was today. And so the answers back then were like, oh, we can't do it. It's really difficult. We're never gonna make it. And then if I were to compare that to the last film festival we had, everyone is more optimistic now. It's still difficult, but there's actually a path for us to go now. There's Amazon Prime didn't exist for us in 2011, where you could sell your movies, Vimeo and stuff like that. That didn't exist when we first started in 2010, 2011. And now there's multiple ways for you to distribute your movie or your music. There's Spotify, Vimeo, Amazon Prime, all those different avenues that you could do. So it's definitely changed. It's evolved. Is it still difficult? Yes, it is still very difficult, but now there's more avenues for us to take. And so my view is still optimistic. I'm still very optimistic. I think that Hmong music has come a really, really long way. Hmong music has really evolved. Um, People make so much money off of Hmong music now. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely can you live off of it? Absolutely. Hmong filmmakers, we're a little bit behind. I'm hoping that we'll catch up soon, but I'm still optimistic about it.
Yeah. And I don't see a lot of like Hmong movies being made anymore, which I think is quite sad because like y'all movie 不投为投 like not pa here, like his movies. I feel like um they weren't like the best like producing wise, but I think it captures a lot of good stories, funny stories that people can relate to. And I feel like not a lot of that stuff is, being made anymore.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I would say even in general, a couple years ago, like pre-pandemic, there was a lot of US based Hmong filmmakers, and there
mhm,
were every year, they would always be making movies. I feel like now it's starting to dwindle down a lot, which has made
yeah.
me quite sad because
Mhm,
I enjoy watching Hmong movies. I enjoy helping out other Hmong filmmakers. We're a small community, and it's sad when it gets even smaller and people no longer make movies. And so I try to support them as much as I can, and I hope that that there will continue to be more Hmong filmmakers. I've noticed that a lot of us have switched to like YouTube, and
mhm,
so maybe that's the future where we just invest in making movies and posting it on YouTube.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't have
Yeah.
the answer to that, but I hope that we don't stop making movies.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I mean, even when we did like, the little teasers for when we did Finding Love, and it took our videographer, quite some time to even, right, like the time that was spent to even edit that down. And so I don't know if it's just because does take so much time, or maybe a lot of videographers are also perfectionists, right? Like, so versus like just throwing out content versus like making sure that it looks perfect and stuff. But it would be kind of nice to see longer films that maybe not as great, but like have a great storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have this comment. I had this crazy idea about how awesome it would be to create Hmong animation movies like Among Disney, maybe in the future. What do you think about that, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I think animation movies are great. I would say they're very expensive. So,
Mm.
but yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think we have a lot. Hmong stories are what I think Hmong stories would actually work better as animations because like all of our folk stories are so like mythical and fantastical and stuff like that. Where if you do it in like a live action, it never looks as good. So I
Yeah.
actually believe that they would be better as animation movies or animated movies. So that's where I stand. So I agree, whoever the user
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was from Amy Lee. I remember seeing something last year about, I think it was like Hmong House. Was it Hmong House or Happy Hmong or something like that? But they were supposed to do like a series, which had sounded
Oh,
really exciting. Wouldn't
yes.
that be exciting to kind of watch, like almost like
A
what's
mini
the
series.
sitcom or something? Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
where it follows like a Hmong family and all the story. I mean, I grew up on like Family Matters and Full House and stuff, and so that's what that I mean. And our family was completely different from Family Matters and Full House, just like most Hmong people. But I that's what I saw as a family, right? So like all the stuff that they went through. So I feel like that would be so much fun to watch something like that. But I know that would also be really expensive and
Mhm.
time consuming
Yeah,
for actors and actresses that might not really get paid, and
yeah.
this.
I have heard of that project. One of my friends, Kazuo, was actually part of that project. I believe the director made it for a thesis for her bachelor's program. But
Mhm.
there's actually another series that's coming out called More Hmong Organization.
Mm.
They just finished shooting that this year, and it's kind of I would say my best comparison is it's kind of like The Office, but with Hmong people.
What?
So yeah,
Oh, okay. We've got to find out and bring them on the show,
Yes. Oh
yeah.
guys.
my gosh. Wow. And so it's kind of like a series with
It's a
multiple.
I believe it's a series. It's a web series. I believe it's a web series. They just finished shooting that this year, and so we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually Kang Vang is one of the directors. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He directed 1985, and so he's actually directing Hmong Organization.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, we'll
I
reach out
love
to him.
Yeah, like, I just
Yeah,
really
it's
like the character development and, like, any, sitcom, like, you just get
mhm,
invested and, like, when you're watching, like, a drama or something, you just like, there's, like, ones that you're cheering for, and so I think that that's what would make it so fun to watch
Mhm.
something that kinda continues on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah.
All right, Callie, you.
Oh,
Right.
that's too funny. Oh, that's sorry, I just
We had a question from earlier. I don't know if you want to take that question now or wait until after we're done because it's not
um
really related to
was
what we're
it
asking.
the paw one?
Yep.
Okay, I'll take that one after this
Yep.
question. Okay, so this is a question that we've been asking all the directors, and we posted onto our Facebook too because there's just been a lot of discussion about it. So this is from Jia Mi Xiong, the singer. And so she says, I like to say something very honest to the younger generation. Sometimes people say to go after your dreams, which is great, but I would also like to point out there's no money among music. Go be a dentist, a doctor, a small business owner, or anything else that can support you financially. But Hmong music cannot and have not been able to support many of the most famous singers in the history of Hmong music. Yes, have fun and learn and experience the creativity process, but again, there's no money in Hmong music. And so, what are your thoughts on that? Not only as like for singers in our community, but filmmakers as well.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny because I actually just had this conversation with my friend Kevin Pong Yu, who was part of
Mhm.
High, and we had a really long conversation about it, and He brought up a lot of things. Obviously, I'm not a musician, so I don't know the ins and out of musician life and their struggles. But he brought up a good point that um, we're really talking about two different eras.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jami lived in a time, or she made music in a time where YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, that didn't exist, and so it's comparing apples to oranges. It's a really hard comparison to make. Um, I agree with what she said somewhat, because if you want to make six figures and you want to be live comfortable, then yes, go be a doctor. But if you want to follow your passion, and still make a comfortable enough living, I think it's totally doable as a musician. I would say that this is I would say that this is what I said to Kevin, and this is a report that just came out a couple months ago here in Minnesota. But there's a guy, he's a professor at Concordia. He did a study on, he tracked the income of Hmong families in Minnesota for the last 35 years.
Oh
And
wow.
he determined that within the Hmong community in Minnesota, we have a buying power, a purchasing power of $2.5 billion just in Minnesota. And so
Wow.
what I tell Kevin is, if the Hmong people in Minnesota have a buying power of $2.5 billion, if you're an artist and you're able to capture just 1% of that, you would you would be rich, right? And that just goes to show that Hmong people do have money. Our community is thriving. Our community does have money. It's not like 40 years ago when we just arrived in America, many of us lived in poverty. Many of us were
Mhm.
uneducated. Most of our parents didn't go to school. So our purchasing power was very, very low. Now we have $2.5 billion just in Minnesota. So it's like we have so much income and money floating around in the community that it is possible. If you're able to capture, just even 1%, you'd be a millionaire, right? So it's
Mhm.
it's very, very possible. It's not impossible. So that's
Yeah.
that's my view on it. I'm very optimistic about it, and I think it's totally doable.
That's a very good perspective because you have data to kind of back you up on that, right? And I think too, just if they're saying 2.5 billion today, like what are the projections like 10 years from now, right? It just means we're doing something. And even if you can't, I mean, I think for me, it's like in her era, it definitely made sense because Olina Makuhaya, yeah, like before, they're selling stuff like on CDs and cassette tapes, and you have to go to the New Year for people to purchase it for you to generate any revenue. Whereas now we just have so many different platforms and avenues of how we can generate money, So
Yeah,
that's
and
nice to
and
know.
it's I think one of the greatest strengths of Hmong people is like we're a global people, right? Like we live everywhere. We live everywhere in the every continent. There's Hmong people, and so
Yeah.
like I said, in Minnesota it's 2.5 already. Imagine if we combine California, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
wherever it may be, Thailand, Laos, wherever it may be, that number is going to be quadrupled. And so we're a global people. We operate in a global market now, and so it's very, very possible. I don't know how many musicians are doing it. I wish I had the number to that, but it
Yeah.
is very possible. I believe it is very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just grateful that there are a lot of folks that, even though they might not make a lot, that they're putting their craft out there. I think that if we did everything like for money, then we wouldn't be where we are today. Because I think even the folks that maybe have one or two song and inspires other people to keep going, to keep doing and producing, and even when we talk about film and all the movies that we watch, all the movies that we grew up watching. I mean, I don't know if those guys made a lot of money, right? But like
Mhm.
those were like the foundations of our childhood. And so I think having all of those movies and even all of our, Luya and Jami, and all that they
Mhm.
produce, like I grew up listening to those music. And so I'm glad that we have a lot of folks that, do stuff because it's a passion of theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely. I totally agree. I will say that to your point about the older filmmakers, when we had the film festivals, we had really famous Muali and King. They all came to the film festival, and many of them said that it was actually really profitable.
Mhm.
Back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was really profitable for them to go sell VHS and DVDs at the New Year in July
Yeah.
4. But obviously now, I mean, I did it. I've sold DVDs at the New Year one year, and it was like not profitable at all. That was in 2018. It was I would actually consider it a loss. And so um, for me now, it logically it doesn't make sense for me to make DVDs and go sell them at the New Year and at J4 and stuff like that. So logistically, no, it no longer makes sense for me. But at the time, in the world that they lived in, it made total sense because that's the
Mhm.
one time you see Hmong people, and there's hundreds of thousands of people that went to J4 and the New Year. So it made a lot of logistical sense for them. But for me now, it doesn't. If I were to do it again, it'd probably be a loss.
Yeah.
So so in terms of that, then if filmmakers don't do DVDs, like should they just sell it on what was that site that you said,
Yep,
Vimeo?
Vimeo. Yep,
Or
Vimeo, and yeah, I would. So we've done a lot of things. We've done Vimeo, we've done DVDs, we've done like on demand videos and stuff. It's hard. Every avenue is really hard. It really, I would not say we've even done like theater releases. So there's pros and cons to each one. What really is difficult is everywhere you go, everyone kind of takes like a big chunk of your money. So
Mhm.
Amazon takes a big cut, Vimeo took a big cut, the theaters you rented took a big cut. So it's really difficult. And especially I would not consider myself like a really business savvy person. And so I think what I needed at the time, and looking back at it, is a really big learning lesson to me. Is like I needed someone who's like a business person, a business oriented person who is gonna go find me those deals, who's gonna go like broker the theater rentals and stuff, and negotiate those terms for me. Whereas at the time, I was like 25 years old, first time renting a theater, didn't know anything, and they just gave me a price, and I was just like, okay, and then I just took it. So looking back at it, it's a huge learning lesson that if I were to do something like that, you would probably hire someone to negotiate those deals for you, or to broker those deals for you.
Yeah.
And it is going to cost someone, it is going to cost you to hire someone like that. But I feel like if you want to move forward, that's what you got to do. You got to get these experts on your side.
can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, that's a big accomplishment to even have, a film in the theater. So can you talk? I
At
mean, like,
25.
where did you even come up with the idea that, hey, I'm going to do this and people are going to come watch this film like all in
Yeah.
one place?
So I would actually say it's not that difficult. It's actually fairly easy. You just kind of like just call them and say, "Hey, we want to do a showing," and most places will either say yes or no. It's that simple. And um, some theaters, they'll give you just like a flat rate. They'll just say, "Hey, for this time slot, in this theater, if it's one of our bigger theaters, then we'll charge you X amount of dollars." Or other theaters will say, "We will rent you this theater for a flat rate for per seat." So let's say like if that auditorium seated like 250 people, they'll rent that theater out for you at a flat rate or per seat. And so it's really not that difficult to get those rentals. I would say it's more difficult is to get the prime times. That's the more difficult thing, because if you're not signed to like a distributor, when you go to a theater and you say, "Hey, I want 8 o'clock on a Saturday," they're gonna say no. That is reserved for like the big Hollywood movies. Like we're not gonna rent it out to some Hmong kid to show his Hmong movie. That is actually what they said to me. And
Yeah.
I didn't.
Did you
I
not tell
understood.
them that we have a 2.5 billion buying
Purchasing
power?
power.
Yeah, I should have told them that, but I totally got it because it depends on the weekends too. Obviously, at the time, I believe we rented ours out in September, and it was Hollywood didn't have a lot of movies out at the time, and so it was easier for us to get that slot. We still didn't get primetime slots, but it was a little bit easier for us to get like a Saturday rental. So these are all things that I had to learn the hard way. I didn't know that going in. I kind of just went in and asked and cold called them and stuff like that. And so it's a learning process. But like I said, now going back at it, I would probably try to hire someone to broker those deals and to try to find those theaters for me.
Mm.
Gotcha. That is so cool. Yeah, because I've been
Yeah.
seeing Cha Lee productions, and I know they have like multiple, and I was kind of curious, like, wow, like how do you just, like have a movie in a movie theater? So I think that's
Yeah,
really
yeah, it's not difficult to get. It's just more difficult to get the times that you want. That's I would say that's the most difficult time.
Were
Yeah.
you guys able to fill all of your seats?
Yeah, so we sold out 2 theaters that sat 300 people, which is really
Wow.
good. Yeah, it was really good, but, theater rentals are really expensive, like I said, so we basically broke even. It wasn't I mean, that was good enough for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, it's a good it's a really good experience and lessons learned, you know.
Mhm.
And thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
yeah.
that it definitely made me a more business savvy person because, like I
Yeah.
said, at the time, I was more I was thinking like an artist. I was like, "Oh, I just wanna, like, play my movie and, like, be an artist and, like, be artsy and stuff," you know? But then, like, thinking back about it, it's like, wow, I was like, you adore like, you didn't know any business, you didn't know how to, like, negotiate better terms, you didn't know any of that stuff, which like I said, it's a huge learning process, and now I'm a lot more business savvy, have a better understanding of how it works, and it's a huge learning lesson.
Would
Yeah.
you like to, have something in the movies again?
Yeah, I would definitely like to have something in the movies again. I don't foresee it happening anytime soon, but I would say that maybe in the future I'd definitely like to try it again. Yeah.
And then where would you wanna go with your career? Like, where do you see your career going?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. That's hard to say. I would say that right now we're working on a film called Bird's Nest, and it's
Mhm.
probably my biggest film to date. It's probably my most ambitious film. To give you a little bit of backstory, it's about the shooting of Fong Lee that happened in 2006.
Yeah.
For any of my Minnesota folks who are watching, you may be familiar with that, but it's about this 18-year-old Hmong teen who was shot by the Minneapolis Police Department in 2006. He was actually shot like 8 times, and so it was one of the most notorious shootings that we had in Minnesota. And I just felt like it was a story that really needed to be told. And so we're making a film about that. We just finished shooting in October, and we're hoping to release it in June or May of 2023. So I'm hoping that this kind of really invigorates my filmmaking career because, like I said, it's the most ambitious project that I've ever worked on. So I'm anxious to see where it goes.
Yeah. I remembered when you shared that you got the grant to do that. I think I even shared it on my personal of just like this is so amazing to see so many different like Hmong brothers and sisters like putting Hmong people on the map. You
Mhm.
know, it's so crazy. I love it.
Yeah, it's a story that is really impactful, and it especially in the time that we live in with so
Mhm.
many of those issues going on. I just felt like it was a good time and a good place to tell the story.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Kelly, you want to put up that one question we had?
Is it the one from Pa? Is that
Yeah.
that one? Okay.
Hmm.
So Pa asked, "Any more short films? We need more cultural themed short films."
Yeah. So yeah, back to Bird's Nest. That it's gonna be my next one. That's kind of the one that I'm focusing on the most right now. There is a lot of influence of Hmong culture in there because obviously Fong was Hmong, but it is a story that I would say it includes Hmong people, but it's a story that if anyone can watch it and relate to Fong. I would say that it's a Hmong film, but it's also like a coming of age film because Fong was so young at the time. He was uh, just starting to find himself as a young Hmong man before his life was ended, and so his story is really universal. So although it is a Hmong film, it's not necessarily just for Hmong people, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, I like that.
So how are you, like, is this gonna be on YouTube or like where can people?
Yeah, so the film is actually we're hoping to do like a festival run with it first, and trying to get it into as many film festivals as we can get it into. Our last film, Rice Street, got into 4 film festivals, which did really well. And so we're gonna try to replicate that with Bird's Nest and try to make like a really long festival run with it and see where it goes.
That's awesome. Can you talk about that? You do
I
all
was
these
just gonna
cool
say, how do
things.
you? I was like, how do you even get into film festivals? Like, do you like fill out an application and then you write a summary? Like, how do
Yeah.
you even get in?
Everyone is a little bit different. Everyone's guidelines are a little bit different. I would say that the last one, the most prestigious one, the 2 most prestigious ones that we got into with Rice Street is the Oregon Asian American Film Festival, and then the
Yep.
Minneapolis International Film Festival here in Minnesota. Their guidelines weren't very strict, but they have a really strict the submission guideline was fairly easy. You just submit your film, and they just view it. But they have a really strict reviewing process. And so they have like a board who watches the film to make sure that your film is good quality and yada 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 before it gets selected. So the submission process is fairly easy, but the review process is a little bit more stringent. And so it's we got a lot of no's. I'm not gonna lie. So we submitted to over 10 film festivals. So we got a lot of no's, and I was really disappointed. But at the same time, you kind of learn from those, and you do better. And so we I was really proud of the ones we got into, but I don't want to make it sound like it's really easy because we did get a lot of no's as well.
Mm-hmm.
So with film festivals, I mean, I guess I always see them as a little bit, like more open-minded to stuff. Do you think the film festivals have a lot of diversity and equity in how they choose films to be put on?
Yeah, yep. So it's funny you say that because we did the Oregon Film Festival, and we did a live show, a virtual live show, and everyone was like, "Who are Hmong people?" Like we've never heard of Hmong people, and it was an Asian American film festival, and they had Filipinos, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, everyone, and we were the only Hmong film that showed. And when I was having a director's talk with them, they're like, "Well, who are Hmong people? We don't know who Hmong people are." And I'm like, "Well, this is an Asian American film festival. How come no one knows what Hmong people are?" So it's kind of it is diverse, but it also goes to show that like Hmong people, although we would like to think that we're like with like Suni Lee and all these people in the world, we would like to think that people finally know who we are. We're still like a very small fish in a really really large ocean. And so that really humbled me, because it just revealed like, hey, like actually not a lot of people know who Hmong people are, even though it's 2022. You kind of expect people to know, but it's still a lot of educating that you need to do, and still a lot you have to go the extra step and go the extra mile to really educate people on like who Hmong people are, and what our stories are, and what our experiences are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And again, like speaking of just like getting, the Hmong people out there and, like doing it all based on like, probably not a lot of money, right? And so I think that's amazing to continue to spread who we are through our stories, through our songs, through the things that we create. So Amy has a suggestion, a Hmong documentary on Suni Lee.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
So going back to the film about Fong Lee, so when you have something like that, are y'all talking to the families, like
Mhm.
researching on like what does that process look like, and trying to bring honor to
Mhm.
what they're trying to do, or like how they remember the
Yeah, so that project, we actually worked on it for about a year and a half, and we spent most of that time actually interviewing the family. So we met with the family. Um, I met them in person. We had long interview sessions with them, because you have a duty to. It's not a documentary. It is a narrative. So we're still casting people to play Fong, but you have to represent that person in the proper light, right? You can't just write Fong to be someone completely different. And so, we asked a lot of things like, hey, how did Fong walk? Or like, what was his speech pattern like? Did he have a slur? How did he talk? When he's angry, how is he like? When he's happy, what's his temperament like? So we had to ask a lot of these questions just to figure out like who he was. And we did that with his parents as well. Like, we asked them, um, where did they grow up, or was their childhood like? So trying to build a character, or build a better understanding of who that person was, so that you can represent them in a accurate light.
You said that you guys are done filming it already?
Yep, we finished filming in October, and we just started editing it. So
Okay.
hopefully in May or June of 2023, we'll have it done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, has his parents seen the video, but you guys just wrapped up.
Yeah, they have not seen it, but we did send them a script and everything. When we
Oh,
finished writing the script, we shared it with them. They gave us the okay.
good.
And so we tried to, we tried to even interview the police who shot and killed Fong. That didn't work out for obvious reasons, but we tried to be as neutral and as like transparent as possible.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
Did I see something somewhere? Are there any other projects you're working on?
Yeah, so my next episode of the Across the Mountains is going to be a short documentary about Hmong midwives and how
Very interesting.
elder Hmong women aid, how aid women in giving birth, like traditional way, and how did it work? How did it happen? And stuff like that. And so that's my next documentary at Across the Mountains. So I'm really interested to kind of explore that and
Mhm.
understand how that worked and stuff. So that's my next documentary we're working on. And then after that, just a quick preview, but we're gonna be doing one about the murder suicides in the Hmong community. So a lot of stuff coming through the pipelines. So I'm really
Yeah,
excited for the next couple months.
that's awesome. I love it. I don't know if I saw it correctly, but Callie and I are going to be in Minnesota in November. Are you a part of the show?
I am part of the show.
Okay.
I am part of the show. I'm walking for Ma Moore's line. So shout out
Okay.
Ma if you're watching. So I'll be walking for her line. So I'll be excited to meet you guys in person.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want to like misshare if it's incorrect. That's why I'm like, I don't know if it's you, Dan. I
It's
remember I
me.
saw something because they've been posting and sharing so much stuff. I just wasn't sure, like if I
Yeah.
remembered
Yep.
correctly.
Yep.
So see, you are like so talented at so many different things.
Thank you.
Adding modeling to that now.
That's right.
It's one and done. After that, I'm done.
Oh,
Um,
that's too
awesome.
funny.
So, how can people connect with you, support you? Yeah, all those fun things.
Yeah, so you can obviously find me on Facebook, Danya. You guys can add me on you know, Facebook. My two actual pages that you can follow is obviously Across the Mountains. We're gonna be really active on that one, so you guys can follow or subscribe to Across the Mountains on YouTube. So there, you can find me there.
And we just had a comment that you were seen in a music video, so you act too.
Yeah, that's one and done as well, Stace.
Oh, that's too
Oh,
funny.
that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on with us tonight, and
Thank you for
just
having me.
yeah, that was amazing just to hear about the film festival, the movie theater. So you've done a lot of really cool things that it's just like you just make it sound so easy.
Mhm.
Like I just put my movies up in a movie theater. I just take the stuff to the
It's
film
not easy.
festival.
It's not
I
easy,
know,
but
but it's just like there's so much stuff. Like there's so much knowledge and experience that you have because you have put
Mhm.
yourself out there because you have pursued things that maybe other people have not even thought about. And so thank you for talking us through that.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been a really, really engaging and interesting talk. So I appreciate it. You guys had a lot of good questions.
Thank
After
you.
I could talk, right? I can barely talk now. But please do tune in. We will have another episode next week, and then we have the last director, Super Sing, on with us on the 8th as well. And so, again, thank you for tuning in tonight to our director, Dan Yang, and for him to share all his experience and knowledge. Please do go support him. And of course, here at All That Talk, we believe that conversations drive change, and change starts with you. Have a good night.